Are we on day 9?
Yeah, day 9.
Day 9?
So we know that graphing so far has been done 2 ways. You have seen it as what and what. What are the 2 ways that we have been able to graph? And these are in your notes already. What are the 2 ways that we have learned to graph an equation? So don't leave me hanging. Look back in your notes. Give me one. Okay, so that's going to be the second one, is slope intercept form. What was the other way that we learned to graph? Megan? Well, that's just for slope.
2 points.
Okay, I could graph 2 points, but that's not exactly how we're going to graph an equation. What else can we do? If I give you an equation, it can either be slope-intercept form, or we can do something else, and it had to do with, when we did it, with functions. How did we graph functions? I'm not going to call on Evan again, so you guys need to look back in your notes, because it's physically in there. David? A T-chart, where we had an X and a Y, and we put in certain values, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and then you put your inputs to get an output, and then you graph them. Okay? Would you remember doing that? I hope so, because you physically did that on a test. And if you don't remember that, ruh-roh. So we have 2 ways to graph equations, either from a T-chart or from slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form, though, is our bread and butter. What is slope-intercept form? Should be the same way every single time. I've probably said it at this point at least 100 times. We're going to start on the second 100. What is the equation for slope-intercept form? Jackson.
Y equals mx plus b.
Y equals m times x plus b. David, which letter do you want to talk about?
M.
Okay?
Slope.
Okay, it's slope, so m is slope. What do you mean by slope?
It's the fraction.
Okay, it's a fraction. That's good, I like that. What else?
It's y over x.
Okay, it's my y's over x's. That's good, I like that too. Y's over x's. So far, I still like it. What else? Come on, you said I want to talk about m. I'm going to let you talk about m, David. Let's go.
I don't know.
It's up on the board. I bet it's somewhere up there on one of those sheets. What else we need to know about slope? So I think we're missing 2 words.
Y.
They both start with R.
Run and rise.
Good. Which one? Where's rise going to go? Top or bottom? Top. So we know slope is rise divided by run. And again, you've heard me say it a lot of rise over run. When I say over, it's still a division problem. We're still simplifying our fraction. We also know that my rise is my y's. We know my run's my x's. Rise goes both up and down. Which way for this class do we want run to go? Haley? To the right. Okay, there's one more letter that I want you to talk about. And everybody's like, no, I'm not talking now. David had to do a lot of work. Give me another letter. Go ahead, Sammy.
B.
Just B?
Plus.
Yeah, you have to include the sign that's out in front of B. What is that?
That is the y-intercept. Yeah,
Okay, so what is a y-intercept? What is a y-intercept? Okay, it's a starting point, but I want to know truly, if you're telling somebody who has no idea what a y-intercept is, explain to me what a y-intercept is.
It's the part on the graph when you're on the y-axis.
Okay,
It's the point where you start.
so it's the place where the graph would cross the y-axis. Okay, intersects is a good word. That's the word that I'm looking for. Y-intercept means this is where it's intersecting the y-axis. So we have slope, we have y-intercept. We've done this before, yes? We've seen graphs where it's been y equals x plus 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And I've asked you to say m equals b equals. Well, what number is my m in this problem, Brooklyn? Well, how many x's do I have? Oh, so the m is really 1 divided by 1. What's my y-intercept, Bianca? What is it? What number? 1. So we come up here, we start at 1. That's my starting point. It crosses the y-axis. We go up 1, we go over 1. Okay, we've seen that. We've also seen graphs like this. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. And we say, okay, m equals b equals. Swill, what's my m in number 2? In number 2?
Oh. Negative 1.
Negative 1/2. Good. It's all right.
I can't speak.
Huh?
I can't speak.
It's all right. What about my b? What would be my b, David? 3. So to graph this, we only need 2 things. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We need my y-intercept, which is where I start. My slope is negative, which means down first, down 1, then run 1, run 2. Questions there? And you had a quiz and you got back your quiz. Most of you did all right. But these were the only types of graphs that we saw. We saw positives, we saw negatives. What haven't we seen yet? From things that we know, what types of graphs haven't we seen? And I even made sure to put them as warm-ups to give us a chance to answer this question. So think about some of your answers from the warm-ups. What types of graph haven't we seen? So go back to your warm-ups with the answers. So we already went over it. What types of graphs haven't we seen? Isabella. Undefined and 0. So there are still 2 more graphs that we need to find. An undefined graph and a 0 slope graph. That's what we're going to focus on today. We are still going to deal with slope-intercept form for the most part. Here's my first question. If I say graph y equals 4, is that in slope-intercept form? Show of thumbs up if you're saying, yes, that's in slope-intercept form. Thumbs down for no, it's not. So let me see thumbs up. So I've got one person with a thumb up. Thumbs down for no. What do we have to have isolated to be in slope-intercept form? Haley?
The Y.
The y has to be isolated to be in slope-intercept form.
So the question is the y isolated? So that's the question you need to ask yourself.
Is the y by itself? Oh yeah. So is this in slope-intercept form? Yes. And you might be saying, Mr. H, but there's no x. I know. If there's no x, couldn't I say y equals 0x plus 4? What's 0 times anything?
0.
What's 0 plus 4? So if there's no x's, oh, wait a minute. This is the same as this. This is the same as this. So if it's just y equals a number, what's my m? What's my slope? Zero. The slope is zero, because how many x's are there? So my slope is zero. What's my y-intercept? So my y-intercept is 4. So when I graph this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's saying y equals 4. So where is y equals 4? Well, here we go. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. My slope is 0. But I want to show you something here. If I say this point here, that point is 1, 4. Does everybody agree that that point is 1, 4? Is my y still 4? What about out here? So this is -4. Is that at, what is this point? Well, let's see. It's -4, 4. Is that y still 4? When we have y equals just a number, the slope is 0 because every point on that line has a y value of what? Of 4. This would be -1, +4. This would be 4, +4. So if it's just y equals a number, it is horizontal. So let's try this one. Graph. Do this on your own. Y equals -3. Go. This should take no time whatsoever. Y equals -3. I still want you to find your M, still want you to find your B, and go from there.
When you're done, raise your hand, I'll just come over and get it.
Okay, so, Maddie, what is my slope for y equals -3?
0.
Yeah, there is no x value, so M is 0. Carly, what's my y-intercept? -3. So when I graph this, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, start off at my y value. If it's y equals, it's directly across because everywhere on that line, my y value is -3. Questions there? Last but not least, undefined. Undefined is not in slope-intercept form. Undefined is in its own form. Undefined will be x equals 1. Now, you told me during the war, I think it was actually B, you told me, what does an undefined graph look like? Vertical, it's up and down. If it's up and down, will it cross the y-axis? Oh, if it does not cross the y-axis, notice what's not there. Any y's. It does not cross the y-axis, therefore the equation will not have a y. So when I graph x equals 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, where's x equaling 1? Well, it equals 1 right there on the x-axis. But what does the line need to look like? It will be vertical. Why? Because it's not going to cross that y-axis. Questions there? Yes, sir.
How come the Y line doesn't have any lines to
How come the y line doesn't have any lines to
it?
it? I don't know what you mean. What do you mean, bud?
The Y-axis, how come it doesn't have any lines to it like the X?
How does this, oh, it could, sorry. I just didn't draw them, because I was being lazy, I'm sorry. I'm not, usually I'm confused, but thanks. One more. X equals -3. So you can graph the linear equation of x equals -3. So again, the first thing you're going to ask yourself, is there any y in the graph? There is no y value, therefore it is not crossing the y-axis. It's telling me x is -3. X, y. So here I am on my x-axis at -3. If I know it's not crossing the y, it can't go left and right, it can't be any diagonal. The only time that it cannot cross the y is when it's directly up and down. Questions? That's it for the day.